part one of me explaining why I don't think the writing in Sunrise on the Reaping is up to par with the other Hunger Games books. And each of these parts, there's going to be 2 or 3, will contribute to my overarching thesis that I do not want another Hunger Games book. Now, before you come for my throat, let me just say that I know we all love this book. I freaking love this book. It is so good. 5 out of 5 stars, but it's just not as good as the others. Please hear me out. To complete this analysis, I will be talking about social commentary, plot structure, character development, and narration style. Let's start with social commentary. Now, if this book were properly a standalone, meaning there were no other Hunger Games books, I think the commentary in this would be fine. It's really good, actually excellent, in fact, but when you compare it to the other Hunger Games books, it almost feels as though we are beating a dead horse. We are served the social commentary on a silver platter and we get to eat it right away. We don't have to work for it. We don't have to really use our critical thinking skills. And I understand why she did this if she was afraid that people would just miss the point so badly, because that often happens far too frequently these days. But she makes us work for it in her other 4 books, which is something that I wanted out of this one and didn't get. Let me explain more in detail what I mean by this. The original trilogy is about Katniss figuring out what her worldview is going to be in terms of revolution and war theory. She is conflicted between figuring out if she fits more with Gale's worldview, which is one of justifying war, or with Peeta's worldview, which is one of facing it with non-violence and pacifist ideology. She ends up falling somewhere in the middle of just war theory and pacifism, and she really had to work for it, and therefore we as readers also had to work for trying to figure out what our own worldviews are. Collins never uses the words just war theory or pacifism in any of these books to my knowledge. She really makes you work for it. The same can be said for The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which is about the social contract theory and the debate on the state of nature. And in this book, much like Katniss, Coriolanus is working hard to figure out what his worldview is. What does he think the basic nature of humanity is when we are not constrained by a social contract, by a government? And he has to work for the conclusion that he comes to, and therefore we as readers also have to work for how we are going to imagine these answers. Collins only uses the phrase state of nature in the epigraph where the quotes are and in the acknowledgements. She doesn't actually use it in the bulk of the novel. And while she does have Dr. Gall use the phrase social contract, she doesn't have Gall tell us what that means. And later, Coriolanus thinks back on this conversation that he has with Dr. Gall, and he is trying to figure out what she meant by social contract.
District 12, work and earn it.
Work it, earn it. You gotta earn your cabbage.
Sunrise on the Reaping is about implicit submission, and Plutarch tells us exactly what that is very early on in the book, and Haymitch continues to reference it throughout the novel. We are told exactly what propaganda is, what it looks like, how it's used, and we don't really have to think critically about those things.